Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. For anyone new to the channel, nice to see you here with us. I post anime what if videos either never heard before, or reboot into a more clear audio. I present to you all, what if Asta had Gojo's abilities? In this crossover scenario, Asta would become an incredibly formidable character, blending Gojo's techniques with his own anti-magic abilities. This combination would create a unique dynamic, allowing him to face even the most powerful foes in the Black Clover universe while dealing with the complexities of cursed spirits. Read and review please. The link of the story will be in the description down below. If you like this video and want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe to see more anime what if stories. Humanity came close to being decimated by the demons. But just one mage saved humankind. He was known thereafter as the Wizard King and became a legend. Many decades later, researchers and magic scholars of the Clover Kingdom came together and requested the current Wizard King the right to do research under the kingdom. Skeptical, the king demanded to know for what purpose did this new interest come from. Seeing as they hesitated, the king secretly signaled one of his magic knights to go investigate the labs the present group in front of him were experimenting. The knight nodded and quietly exited the room, face determined to complete his current task, reaching the bottom floor of the kingdom. The knight searched through paperwork after paperwork, finding nothing out of the ordinary. However, after a few minutes, he found a secret compartment underneath a magic scholar's table and found a file regarding something called cursed energy. Intrigued by this file, he read through line by line of this foreign power. It was then he found something mind-boggling. Cursed energy is a form of spiritual energy that leaks from humans as a result of their negative emotions, makes up the bodies of cursed spirits, and is utilized by cursed spirits. The knight, shocked by this statement, took a few steps back, until he accidentally bumped into a table, knocking a glass sphere containing a blue energy inside to fall on the ground. Aware of his sudden mistake, he quickly hunched down to try to clean up the mess, but what he didn't expect was for the blue sphere to vanish as soon as he made contact with it. He turned left and right, but it was nowhere to be seen. The knight then got up, grabbed the piece of paper, and rushed out of the lab, unaware that as he left the underground levels, a spirit was forming inside him. Returning to the surface, he made a beeline straight to the Wizard King's chamber to give his report. Arriving just outside the room, he placed his ear next to the door and heard no one inside. Taking that as his cue, he knocked on the door and was allowed in by the Wizard King. He knelt on the ground waiting for further instruction, to which he was permitted. "My king, the investigation regarding the matter of their intention has been evaluated. Although everything in the lab was ordered and followed what was listed, there was this one work that was outside what was permitted." "And that is?" the king asked. The magic knight glanced down, a cold sensation crawling down his spine. Turning his sight back to the king, he answered, "A workspace belonging to a scholar, who works in the history department of magic, was found with a piece of paper with an unusual study of something called cursed energy." The king narrowed his eyes. "Cursed energy? Is that some sort of dark magic or cursed magic?" The magic knight shook his head negative. "Please then, inform me of this foreign energy." "My king, this energy is stated to be created by negative emotions leaking from humans and manifesting into beings called cursed spirits. The specific of what they do and the implication of them are limited in info and have yet to fully be discovered." The king nodded and asked the magic knight to leave, unaware that on that day would be the last time he saw that knight and a new terror would spread across the world of an unknown force. Many decades later, a woman with messy, ash-blonde hair and green eyes ran as fast as she could. Bruises and cuts all over her body as she tried desperately to escape her pursuers. She turned around and saw a large amount of distorted monsters coming right after her heel. A baby's cry could be heard and she glanced down to her newborn. "Don't worry, I'll find a good, peaceful place for you to escape from these beasts to live out your life. I promise, I'll never let them take you." She promised, blood running down her forehead and drops landing softly on the baby's cheek. The child grabbed on her shirt and cried harder, feeling as if it knew what she meant but refused to let go. Richita couldn't help but let out a low sob. She loved her child so much, but she knew she couldn't stay with him. Gazing forward, she saw a church on top of a hill and quickly formed a plan. She concentrated on absorbing all the mana in her surroundings, causing trees to fall down, halting the monsters and giving Richita a few more seconds of headrun to quickly leave her baby and write his name on a tag. Asta. That was the name she had decided to name him. After his father left and never came back, she had to birth her child alone with no support. she chuckled softly. No, she wasn't entirely alone. While alone, she encountered a young devil, Liba. He was a lost entity who thought that fear and power was the only purpose in life and that love and kindness was weak. However, she had changed him by showing him her hospitality, and in addition, she adopted him as her son. When she found out she was pregnant, offered that he'll protect them both, to which she smiled and ruffled his hair. However, everything went down to hell once these monsters appeared out of nowhere. In order to protect Liba and her yet-to-be-born baby, she sealed Liba inside a 5-leaf clover grimoire, certain that her child would be an anti-magic user like herself. Her precious son she adored more than her own life still held onto her shirt tightly, as if begging not to be separated from his mother. She couldn't do anything but hope he would live a long life and hopefully never encounter these horrendous beasts. Before she could spend any more time with her child, a monster came out of nowhere and tried to attack the two. With her motherly instincts on, she quickly threw a punch at the beast, but it only phased through it. Eyes widening at her action, she could only wait for the half-close her eyes and expect the next thing to happen. Blood burst from her chest, raining down on her and her child, with her blood landing on his eyes, causing the baby to cry in pain. The monster, hearing the sound of the baby's cry, turned to look behind the woman and licked its lips at the small meal. He tried to reach for it, its gluttony terrifying the child even more. But before the monster could make contact with the baby's skin, the mother, covered in her own blood and with little fluids inside her system, quickly threw another punch. However, instead of her arm going through the creature, her fist glowed a neon blue and made contact with it, blowing up the monster in the process with its blood and organs landing everywhere in front of the church. She huffed in exhaustion, fist still stretched out as her last bit of fighting spirit left her. Turning to her son, she sideswiped his hair to the side and quickly left the boy, walking straight towards where she knew would be her grave spot. The baby continued to cry loudly, blood blinding his vision as he tried painfully to open them. Pushing through the pain, he revealed to the world his once green eyes shift and morph to bright celestial blue eyes. After a few minutes, a basket arrived next beside little Asta, a boy also covered in blood, with the name on the tag reading Yuno. The next week. Waking up to the cries of a baby is an experience that Father Orsi knows all too well. It starts with a faint whimper that gradually escalates into a powerful, heart-wrenching cry that pierces through the stillness of the night. The sound is laden with a mix of need and distress, pulling at Father Orsi's deepest instincts. The moment the cry reaches his ears, Father Orsi is roused from sleep, his heart quickening with a surge of concern. The familiar flood of emotions rushes through him, the urgent need to comfort and soothe combined with the disorienting haze of being awakened from deep slumber. The room feels colder, the bed less inviting, as he quickly moves to respond to the call of the little one in need. Every sense is heightened as he navigates through the dimly lit hallways of the church orphanage. The baby's cries echo around him, amplifying in the quiet of the night. Shadows shift, and the usual creaks of the old building seem louder, guiding him towards the source of the distress. When he reaches Asta's crib, a wave of tenderness washes over him. Father Orsi gently lifts the crying baby into his arms, feeling the warmth of Asta's small, quivering body. The soft scent of baby powder and innocence fills the air. Asta's tiny hands clutch at Father Orsi's shirt, seeking comfort and safety. As he cradles Asta close, whispering soothing words and gently rocking him, the baby's cries begin to subside. The connection between them grows stronger in these quiet, intimate moments. Father Orsi's heart swells with love and a profound sense of purpose, reaffirming his commitment to protect and nurture the little ones under his care. The room gradually returns to its peaceful state, filled now with the gentle murmurs of reassurance and the steady breathing of a baby calmed by the presence of his caretaker. In these moments, Father Orsi feels a deep, unwavering bond with Asta, knowing that his role is vital in shaping the future of this precious child. Father Orsi gently placed Asta back into the crib, next to Yuno's, and quietly exited the room. The shuffling sound outside grew louder, sending a chill down his spine. The noise was a soft, rustling sound, like dry leaves being brushed together, but it carried a sinister undertone that made his skin crawl. It was punctuated by occasional thuds, as if something heavy was dragging itself across the ground. As he stepped out into the night, the moonlight cast eerie shadows across the church's front property. There, aimlessly wandering near the entrance, was a monstrous figure unlike anything Father Orsi had ever seen. The creature stood at an imposing height, its body a grotesque amalgamation of twisted, sinewy muscles and jagged, protruding bones. Its skin was a sickly, mottled gray, covered in patches of oozing sores that pulsed with a malevolent energy. The monster's head was a nightmarish sight, with hollow, sunken eyes that glowed with an eerie, otherworldly light. Its mouth was a gaping maw filled with rows of razor-sharp teeth, dripping with a viscous, black ichor. As it moved, the creature emitted a low, guttural growl that reverberated through the air, sending shivers down Father Orsi's spine. Its limbs were elongated and unnaturally jointed, ending in clawed hands that scraped against the ground with each step. The monster's movements were erratic and unsettling, as if it were constantly on the verge of collapsing under its own weight. Despite its aimless wandering, there was an undeniable sense of malevolence that radiated from the creature. A palpable aura of dread that seemed to suffocate the very air around it. Father Orsi's heart pounded in his chest as he watched the monster, his mind racing with thoughts of how to protect the children inside. The creature's presence was a harbinger of the darkness that threatened their world, and he knew that he had to act quickly to ensure their safety. Summoning all his courage, Father Orsi took a deep breath and stepped forward, ready to confront the menacing beast that had invaded the sanctity of the church's grounds. The night was far from over, and the battle to protect the innocent had only just begun. Father Orsi Orphi emerged from the church, his resolve steeled despite the fear gnawing at him. He extended his hand, summoning a small, flickering flame of magic that cast dancing shadows on his face. The warm glow contrasted sharply with the chilling night air and the malevolent presence of the monster. "Hey," he called out, his voice firm yet tinged with urgency. The monster continued to wander aimlessly, seemingly unaware or unconcerned by the father's presence. Its grotesque form moved in unsettling, jerky motions, the eerie shuffling sound persisting in the stillness of the night. Gritting his teeth, Father Orsi stepped closer, the flame in his hand growing slightly brighter. "Hey, I'm talking to you," he called again, louder this time, his voice echoing through the church grounds. This time, the monster's movements halted. It slowly turned its head towards Father Orsi, its hollow, sunken eyes locking onto him with a sinister intensity. The eerie glow of its eyes seemed to pierce through the darkness, casting an unnerving light on the father's determined face. The creature's mouth opened slightly, revealing its rows of jagged, razor-sharp teeth, glistening with the black ichor that dripped from its maw. For a moment, the world seemed to stand still. Father Orsi could hear his heart pounding in his chest, each beat resonating with the raw fear and adrenaline coursing through his veins. The monster's gaze was unblinking and malevolent, as if contemplating the best way to rend him apart. The night air was thick with tension, and the only sounds were the faint crackling of the small flame in Father Orsi's hand and the low, guttural growl emanating from the monstrous being. The stage was set for a confrontation between the determined protector of the church and the nightmarish invader that threatened the safety of those within. Father Orsi took a deep breath, readying himself for whatever came next, his eyes never leaving the sinister gaze of the monster before him. The monster leaped towards Father Orsi with a terrifying speed, its jagged claws outstretched and its gaping maw wide open. In a split second, Father Orsi's instincts kicked in. He raced towards the monster, his heart pounding with determination and fear. The flickering flame in his hand grew into a blazing fireball, casting a fierce glow around him. With a swift, decisive motion, Father Orsi hurled the fireball at the charging beast. The flame soared through the air, illuminating the night with its brilliant light. However, just as it seemed that the fireball would strike the monster, it passed straight through its grotesque form, dissipating into the darkness beyond. Father Orsi's eyes widened in shock and disbelief. The monster let out a guttural, sinister growl, undeterred by the failed attack. Its momentum did not falter as it closed the distance between them, its eyes locking onto the father with a malevolent hunger. The realization hit Father Orsi like a cold wave. Conventional magic was ineffective against this nightmarish creature. He braced himself, quickly searching for another way to protect himself and the children in the church. The monster's claws swiped at him with deadly force, barely missing as Father Orsi dodged to the side. His mind raced, considering his next move, knowing that the battle for their safety had only just begun. Father Orsi's mind raced as he charged at the monster from various angles, desperately seeking a weakness. His eyes were sharp and focused, trying to detect any sign of vulnerability in the creature's grotesque form. He launched himself to the right, aiming to strike the monster from the side, only to see his attack pass harmlessly through its distorted body. He quickly shifted his position, coming at the beast from the left, then from above, and even from behind, but each attempt yielded the same result. The monster seemed to be an ethereal being, unaffected by physical and magical assaults alike. The air was thick with tension, the night filled with the frantic sounds of Father Orsi's movements and the monstrous growls of the creature. Each time he struck, there was a sickening, hollow noise as his attacks met only empty space. The monster's unsettling, erratic movements made it difficult to predict, adding to the growing sense of dread. Father Orsi's breath came in ragged gasps, his body growing weary from the relentless pursuit. Sweat dripped down his face, and his heart pounded in his chest. Despite his best efforts, the monster continued to evade any harm, its sinister gaze following his every move with an almost mocking demeanor. He knew he couldn't give up, the safety of the children depended on him. Summoning all his strength, he prepared for another attempt, determined to uncover a weakness in this nightmarish foe, but the odds seemed insurmountable. In that moment of desperation, a fleeting thought crossed his mind: maybe there was more to this monster than met the eye. Perhaps the key to defeating it lay not in brute force, but in understanding the dark magic that had brought it into existence. With renewed resolve, Father Orsi decided to change his approach, searching not just for a physical weakness but for a clue, a sign, anything that could help him understand the nature of this terrifying adversary. The battle was far from over, and he knew he had to think quickly and strategically if he were to protect the innocent lives within the church. As the battle dragged on and frustration gripped Father Orsi's heart, a dark wave of negative emotions began to swell within him. Fear for the children, anger at his own helplessness, and the despair of the situation all coalesced into a potent, raw energy. Unbeknownst to him, this turmoil was awakening a latent power within, cursed energy. The air around him grew heavy with this newfound power, a subtle yet palpable shift that charged the atmosphere. Father Orsi, his mind racing and emotions roiling, summoned another fire spell. This time, the flame in his hand flickered and crackled with an eerie, blue-tinted intensity, fueled by the cursed energy that had merged with his magic. With a determined shout, he hurled the blazing fireball at the monster once more. The ball of flame, now imbued with cursed energy, streaked through the night like a comet, illuminating the scene with an unearthly glow. As the fireball made contact with the monster, a chilling screech filled the air. The cursed energy surged through the creature's form, causing it to writhe and convulse in agony. The sinister, hollow eyes of the monster widened in shock and pain, its grotesque body momentarily becoming corporeal as it struggled against the assault. Father Orsi watched in a mix of awe and confusion as the creature's form began to break apart, the cursed energy tearing through it with relentless force. The monster's growls turned into pain howls, the once menacing presence now reduced to a shadow of its former self. The monster's cries echoed through the village, a haunting sound that woke the villagers from their slumber. Unaware of the true nature of the noise, they stirred in their beds, some peering out of their windows with puzzled expressions. The cries of the dying monster reverberated through the night, a disturbing, otherworldly wail that sent shivers down their spines. As the villagers listened, the monster's form began to disintegrate, its howls growing weaker and more desperate. Father Orsi stood his ground, his eyes fixed on the creature as it slowly succumbed to the cursed energy. The once menacing presence dissolved into a dark mist, leaving behind only the eerie silence of the night and the lingering sense of dread. Father Orsi, panting and exhausted, knew that this was only the beginning. The battle against the darkness had awakened something within him, and he would need to harness this newfound power to protect those he loved. The villagers, roused from their beds by the chilling cries echoing through the night, stepped out of their homes, faces filled with concern and confusion. The night air was thick with tension, and the eerie cry that had shattered the stillness lingered in their minds. As they gathered near the church, their eyes widened in shock at the sight before them. Father Orsi lay sprawled on the ground, his clothes torn in multiple places, yet miraculously without any visible injuries. His breath was shallow, his face pale, and his body unmoving. Several villagers rushed forward, their lanterns casting a warm, flickering light over the scene. They gently lifted the unconscious Father Orsi and carried him inside the church, whispering prayers and words of encouragement. The atmosphere was filled with a mix of fear and relief, the villagers struggling to comprehend the night's events. Inside the church, they laid Father Orsi on a makeshift bed, covering him with blankets to ward off the chill. Despite the absence of physical wounds, the villagers could sense the immense strain he had endured. They exchanged worried glances, their minds racing with questions about the mysterious cry they had heard but could not identify. As they tended to him, the villagers' thoughts turned to the source of the sinister sound that had awakened them. Unbeknownst to them, the night had revealed a hidden power within their protector, a power that would soon be tested again in the battles to come. Outside, the church grounds returned to their eerie quiet, the shadows slowly receding as the first light of dawn began to break. The villagers, now gathered in silent vigil, prayed for Father Orsi's recovery. The first light of dawn began to seep through the windows of the church, casting a gentle glow over the peaceful faces of the sleeping children. Inside the quiet nursery, all was still, save for the soft breathing of the little ones. Asta, nestled beside Yuno in their shared crib, began to stir. A faint whimper escaped his lips, slowly building into a low cry that echoed softly in the room. Unaware of the extraordinary power dormant within him, Asta's tiny fists clenched and unclenched as he continued to fuss. Suddenly, the air seemed to shift. An inexplicable tension settled over the room, causing the other infants to shift uneasily in their sleep. The faint whimper turned into a louder, more insistent cry, filling the nursery with an otherworldly energy. As if responding to an unseen force, Asta's eyelids fluttered open. The room seemed to hold its breath, the atmosphere charged with suspense. The first rays of sunlight caught his eyes, reflecting a dazzling, ethereal light. Where once had been innocent, baby blue eyes, now shone 6 gleaming, celestial orbs. Each eye seemed to hold a universe within, swirling with a mysterious energy. 8 years later. Under the soft light of a setting sun, the village of Hage seemed serene. The laughter of children filled the air as Asta and Yuno, now 8 years old, played an enthusiastic game of tag. Their energetic footsteps echoed through the quiet streets, their playful shouts a testament to their bond. As their game grew more intense, Asta, always the daring one, led Yuno towards the shadier outskirts of the village. The narrow alleyways and overgrown shrubs created an eerie atmosphere, but neither boy paid it any mind, caught up in their youthful exuberance. "Can't catch me, Yuno!" Asta shouted, darting through a particularly shadowy alley. Yuno, ever determined, was hot on his heels. Suddenly, Asta skidded to a stop, causing Yuno to nearly collide with him. Before them stood a figure cloaked in shadows, its presence sending a shiver down their spines. The individual was tall and hunched, with a hood obscuring their face. A faint, unsettling smile played on their lips, barely visible in the dim light. Well, what do we have here?" the figure said, their voice a raspy whisper that seemed to linger in the air. Two little boys lost in the dark. Asta's eyes narrowed, his instincts immediately on high alert. "We're not lost," he said defiantly, stepping protectively in front of Yuno. "What do you want?" the figure chuckled softly, the sound sending chills through the boys. "I just wanted to see who dared to venture into my domain," they said, their tone both mocking and menacing. "But now that you're here, perhaps we can play a different game." Yuno, sensing the danger, grabbed Asta's arm. "We should go," he whispered urgently. "This isn't safe," Asta nodded, his gaze never leaving the shady figure. "Yeah, let's get out of here." With that, the boys turned and ran, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and adrenaline. The narrow alleyways seemed to close in around them as they sprinted, the sense of danger pressing them forward. Asta and Yuno's breath came in short, sharp bursts as they pushed themselves to run faster, but the eerie figure wasn't far behind. The shuffling steps grew louder, accompanied by an unsettling rustling that sent chills down their spines. Just as they thought they were getting away, a strong hand grabbed Asta by the shoulder, yanking him back with a force that knocked the wind out of him. Yuno spun around, his eyes wide with terror as he saw the figure's face up close, a hooded human with a sinister grin, their eyes cold and calculating. "Asta!" Yuno shouted, rushing to help his friend, but another hand caught him, pulling him back as well. The boys struggled, their frantic movements only drawing them deeper into the grasp of the mysterious individuals. Despite their best efforts, the figures dragged them toward the dense, foreboding forest that bordered Hage village. The shadows seemed to come alive, swallowing the boys whole as they were pulled further away from the village's safety. Asta's heart pounded in his chest as he fought against the iron grip. "Let us go!" he yelled, his voice defiant despite the fear that gripped him. Yuno, though quieter, was no less determined, trying to twist free from the other figure's hold. The forest closed in around them, the trees casting long, eerie shadows in the fading light. The rustling of leaves and the crackling of twigs underfoot added to the unsettling atmosphere, each sound amplifying the sense of danger. The figures dragged them deeper into the woods, their intentions shrouded in mystery. The boys' fear was palpable, yet beneath it lay a burning resolve to escape and return to the safety of their home. One of the hooded figures finally spoke, his voice dripping with malice. "These brats will fetch a good price," he said with a sinister chuckle. "Or maybe we can have some fun with them first." The other figure nodded, a twisted smile forming on his lips. "Yes, they look like they'll provide quite the entertainment." Asta's eyes widened in horror. He and Yuno struggled even harder, their fear turning into sheer panic. Just as the situation seemed hopeless, a spine-chilling roar echoed through the forest, freezing everyone in place. Out of the shadows emerged a horrifying monster, its grotesque form towering over the humans. Its skin was a mottled, sickly gray, covered in pulsating sores, and its eyes glowed with a malevolent light. The monster's claws were razor-sharp, glistening with a dark, viscous substance. The figures barely had time to react before the monster lunged at them, its claws slicing through the air with deadly precision. The first figure let out a blood-curdling scream as the monster's claws tore through his body, sending a spray of crimson blood into the air. The other figure tried to flee, but the monster was relentless, its growls filling the forest with a terrifying resonance. It pounced on the second figure, its jaws snapping shut with a sickening crunch. Amidst the chaos, Asta and Yuno managed to slip free from the now lifeless grip of their captors. They stumbled backward, their eyes wide with terror as they watched the monster tear the figures apart. The boys didn't wait to see the end of the gruesome scene. They turned and ran as fast as their legs could carry them, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and relief. The forest seemed to close in around them, but they didn't stop until they were back in the familiar, comforting streets of their village. Breathless and shaken, they finally slowed down, exchanging worried glances. "What was that?" Yuno asked, his voice trembling slightly. "I don't know," Asta replied, his eyes still wide with apprehension. "But we need to be careful. There are some really bad people out there, and some really scary monsters." Meanwhile, Father Orsi had been frantically searching for the boys, worry etched across his face. He had looked everywhere in the village and was now making his way towards the forest, calling their names desperately. "Asta! Yuno! Where are you?" His voice echoed through the twilight as he scoured the area. As he approached the edge of the forest, he saw two small figures stumbling out, their faces pale and eyes wide with fear. "Father Orsi!" Asta cried out, rushing into his arms. "Oh, thank the heavens!" Father Orsi whispered, hugging them tightly. "Where have you been?" "I've been worried sick." The boys, still trembling, recounted their harrowing encounter with the shady individuals and the monstrous beast that had saved them. Father Orsi's expression darkened with anger at the mention of the kidnappers and grew stern when they described the monster. "I'm sorry you had to go through that," he said, his voice firm. "But I'm proud of you for being brave and making it back safely. Those individuals are despicable, and they will pay for what they've done." His eyes softened slightly as he looked at the boys. "As for the monster you saw, I had a similar encounter recently. It was a night not unlike this one. A monstrous creature appeared outside the church, and I had to face it. It took everything I had, and I discovered a new power within me to defeat it." The boys listened, captivated by Father Orsi's tale. These creatures are dangerous and mysterious, and they seem to be connected to something dark and powerful. We must be vigilant and stay together. You boys are strong, and together, we can face whatever comes our way. The night air was filled with a mix of relief and resolve as Father Orsi led the boys back to the church, their steps steady and hearts united in their determination to protect each other and their home from the encroaching darkness. The next morning, the first light of dawn bathed the village of Hage in a soft, golden glow. The events of the previous night lingered in the minds of Asta and Yuno, but the new day brought a sense of renewal and hope. Inside the church orphanage, Father Orsi gathered all the children for a special announcement. "Good morning, everyone," Father Orsi began, his warm smile bringing comfort to the young faces gathered before him. "I have someone very special for you all to meet today. She will be joining us and helping to take care of you." The children exchanged curious glances, their excitement growing as they wondered who this new person could be. Asta and Yuno stood at the front, their eyes wide with anticipation. Father Orsi gestured towards the door, and a young woman with kind eyes and a gentle smile stepped inside. She wore the traditional habit of a nun, her presence radiating warmth and compassion. "Everyone, this is Sister Lily," Father Orsi introduced her. "She will be living with us and helping with the daily care of all of you." Sister Lily gave a slight bow and smiled at the children. "Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to meet you all and be a part of your family. I promise to do my best to take care of you and support you in any way I can." The children responded with enthusiastic greetings, their initial shyness quickly giving way to a warm welcome. Asta, always eager to make new friends, stepped forward with a big grin. "Hi, Sister Lily. I'm Asta. I'm really strong, so if you need any help, just let me know," he said, flexing his small muscles for emphasis. Yuno, standing beside him, smiled softly. "I'm Yuno. It's nice to meet you, Sister Lily." Sister Lily's heart melted at the sight of the two boys. "It's wonderful to meet you too, Asta and Yuno. And thank you, Asta. I'm sure your strength will be a great help. Father Orsi watched the interaction with a sense of pride and relief. He knew that Sister Lily's presence would bring much-needed support and care to the orphanage. As the children gathered around Sister Lily, eager to introduce themselves and show her around, Father Orsi took a moment to reflect on the challenges they had faced and the hope that lay ahead. With the arrival of Sister Lily, he felt a renewed sense of purpose and determination to protect and nurture the children in his care. The day was filled with laughter and joy as Sister Lily got to know each child, learning their names, their favorite activities, and their dreams for the future. Her gentle demeanor and genuine care quickly won their hearts, making her an integral part of their close-knit family. Despite the dark memories of the previous night, the children felt a renewed sense of security and hope with Sister Lily's arrival. Together, under the watchful eyes of Father Orsi and Sister Lily, they faced the future with courage and optimism, ready to take on whatever challenges came their way. In the midst of the bustling day, Asta, always full of energy and confidence, found a moment to approach Sister Lily. He looked up at her with a serious expression, his eyes filled with determination. "Sister Lily," Asta began, "will you marry me when I grow up?" Sister Lily's eyes widened in surprise, and she couldn't help but smile at Asta's earnestness. She knelt down to his level, gently placing a hand on his shoulder. "Asta, that's very sweet of you," she said kindly. "But I'm a nun, and I have dedicated my life to serving others. I can't get married." Asta's face fell slightly, but he quickly regained his usual determined look. "That's okay, Sister Lily. I'll just have to keep getting stronger and find another way to show you how much I care." Sister Lily chuckled softly and ruffled Asta's hair. "I have no doubt you'll become someone very special, Asta. Your determination and kind heart will take you far." Just then, Asta's curiosity got the better of him. "Sister Lily, what kind of magic do you have?" he asked eagerly. Sister Lily smiled warmly. "I have water magic, Asta. I can control and manipulate water in various forms. It's very useful for many things, like healing, cleaning, and even protecting others." Asta's eyes lit up with excitement. "Wow, that's so cool. Can you show us some of your water magic?" Sister Lily glanced around at the eager faces of the children and nodded. "Of course, Asta. I'd be happy to show you." With a gentle wave of her hand, Sister Lily summoned a small, shimmering sphere of water. The children watched in awe as the sphere floated gracefully in the air, reflecting the sunlight and casting delicate rainbows around the room. Sister Lily directed the sphere to move and dance, creating intricate patterns and shapes. The children's eyes sparkled with wonder and admiration, their faces lighting up with joy. "That was amazing, Sister Lily," Asta exclaimed. His enthusiasm infectious. Sister Lily smiled, her heart warmed by their reactions. Asta, still brimming with excitement, looked up at Sister Lily with wide eyes. "Sister Lily, how can I get my magic? Can I be as cool as you someday?" Sister Lily knelt down to Asta's level, meeting his eager gaze. "Asta, everyone has their own unique magic that comes from within. It might take some time to discover yours, but I believe in you. With your determination and hard work, I have no doubt you'll become someone amazing. Whether or not you have magic, your strength and kindness are what truly make you special." Asta's eyes shone with determination. "I'll work really hard, Sister Lily. I want to be just as cool as you and protect everyone." Sister Lily chuckled softly and placed a gentle hand on Asta's shoulder. "I know you will, Asta. And I'll be here to support you every step of the way." The room was filled with a sense of warmth and hope as the children gathered around Sister Lily, eager to learn more from their new caretaker. Asta's unwavering spirit and Sister Lily's gentle guidance created an atmosphere of inspiration, setting the stage for a bright future together. 2 months later, Asta and Yuno were filling their water containers by the river in the forest. The sun filtered through the trees, casting playful shadows on the ground. They chatted and laughed, the tranquility of the forest washing over them. "Asta, how's your training going?" Yuno asked, kneeling beside the river and dipping his container into the cool water. Asta grinned, flexing his small muscles. "It's going great. I've been practicing every day, and I'm getting stronger. What about you, Yuno? How's your wind magic?" Yuno smiled modestly. "It's progressing well. Father Orsi has been helping me improve my control. I can create small whirlwinds now." Asta's eyes widened with admiration. "That's amazing. Yuno, I can't wait to see you create a massive tornado one day, Yuno chuckled. Maybe one day. But what about you, Asta? Do you still plan on marrying Sister Lily? Asta blushed slightly but nodded with determination. Yeah, even if she can't marry me, I'll still keep getting stronger and show her how much I care. She's the coolest and kindest person I know, Yuno's expression softened. That's really sweet, Asta. You have a big heart. I'm sure Sister Lily appreciates your determination. Asta looked thoughtful for a moment. You know, it's not just about getting stronger. It's about protecting the people we care about. I want to be able to keep everyone safe, just like the Wizard King did. Yuno nodded in agreement. Exactly. We're in this together, Asta. We'll both become strong enough to protect everyone. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of rustling leaves, and a sudden tension filled the air. Suddenly, the same sinister rustling sound from their previous encounter emerged from the depths of the forest. The boys froze, their eyes darting around in fear. The monstrous figure slowly stepped out of the shadows, its grotesque form even more terrifying than they remembered. With a roar, the monster lunged at them. Yuno quickly summoned his wind magic, creating a swirling vortex to fend off the creature. But the monster's ethereal form rendered the attack useless. The vortex passed harmlessly through its body, leaving the beast unscathed. The monster's claw swiped at Yuno, knocking him to the ground. Yuno quickly got up and summoned a gust of wind, creating a barrier between himself and the creature. The wind howled as it swirled around him, but the monster pushed through the barrier with unnatural strength, its grotesque form undeterred. Determined to fight back, Yuno summoned a wind blade, slicing through the air with a sharp, cutting force. The blade struck the monster, but it passed harmlessly through its ethereal body, leaving the creature unscathed. Yuno's eyes widened in shock, but he didn't back down. The monster lunged at Yuno, its claws glistening with a dark, viscous substance. Yuno countered with a powerful wind blast, aiming directly at the creature's core. The raging whirlwind collided with the monster, causing it to stumble back momentarily. But it quickly regained its footing, its malevolent eyes locking onto Yuno. Yuno then formed a vortex around his fists, delivering a rapid series of wind punches. Each blow landed with a strong gust, but the monster's form remained impervious to his attacks. The creature's claws struck Yuno again, sending him crashing into the underbrush. Asta watched in horror as his friend struggled, Yuno's cries of pain echoing through the forest. The monster's claws tore into him, leaving deep gashes on his body. Despite his efforts, Yuno's resistance seemed futile against the overwhelming power of the beast, fueling Asta's fury and desperation. He saw Yuno give one last attempt, a desperate wind shield created with a swirling dome of wind to protect himself. But the monster shattered the shield with a single, powerful swipe, leaving Yuno defenseless on the forest floor, his energy nearly spent. Asta's heart pounded as he witnessed Yuno's brutal beating and near-death experience. Desperate to protect his friend, he felt an intense surge of energy within him, an insane blue aura erupting from his body, catching the monster's attention. The beast turned its malevolent gaze toward Asta, its eyes narrowing in recognition of the new threat. With newfound speed and strength, Asta charged at the monster. The blue energy surrounding his fist crackled with intensity as he leaped into the air. Asta's fist, covered in the intense blue energy, made contact with the monster, causing a blinding explosion of light and power. The monster screeched in agony, its form convulsing as the cursed energy tore through it. Asta's relentless attacks continued, each blow landing with precision and force. Yuno watched in awe as Asta's determination and raw power overwhelmed the creature. With a final, devastating punch, Asta's fist shattered the monster's core. The beast disintegrated into a dark mist, its sinister presence finally vanquished. The forest fell silent once more, the echoes of the battle fading into the stillness. Asta, panting and exhausted, stumbled to Yuno's side. Despite his injuries, Yuno managed a weak smile. "Asta, what was that power?" he whispered, his voice filled with admiration. Asta shook his head, still processing what had happened. "I don't know either," he replied, his voice trembling with exhaustion. "But we're safe now, Yuno. That's all that matters." Dark clouds gathered swiftly overhead, and the first sounds of rumbling thunder filled the sky. Heavy raindrops started pelting down, creating an eerie and urgent atmosphere around the boys. Asta and Yuno exchanged a quick glance, knowing they had to get back to the church immediately. They ran through the forest, their footsteps splashing in the quickly forming puddles. The ground beneath them became slippery and muddy, making their progress slower and more treacherous. Despite the heavy rain soaking through their clothes and the mud clinging to their feet, they pushed on, driven by the need to reach safety. Back at the area where Asta had defeated the cursed spirit, the forest was quiet except for the sound of raindrops hitting the leaves. Emerging from the shadows, another creature, cloaked in darkness, approached cautiously. Its nostrils flared as it sniffed the air, catching the distinct, metallic scent of blood. It moved closer, finding a puddle of Yuno's blood on the forest floor. The creature crouched down, sniffing the blood carefully, its eyes glinting with a sinister light. This new presence was powerful, and it seemed to recognize the significance of the blood it had found. The creature's gaze shifted, trailing the path Asta and Yuno had taken. With a low growl, it began to follow the scent, determination and malevolence driving its every move. As the rain continued to pour, the creature disappeared into the shadows. Hot on the duo's trail, Asta and Yuno arrived at the church, drenched from the rain and covered in mud. They burst through the front doors, breathless and wide-eyed from their harrowing experience. Father Orsi, who had been anxiously waiting for their return, hurried over to them. "Where have you boys been?" he demanded, concern etched across his face. "And where's the water you were supposed to bring back?" Asta and Yuno exchanged a glance before Asta stepped forward. "Father Orsi, we were attacked by the same monster that attacked the kidnappers a long time ago," he explained, his voice tinged with urgency. Father Orsi's eyes widened in shock. "The one with a mottled, sickly gray, covered in pulsating sore skin? Are you both alright?" "We're fine, thanks to Asta," Yuno interjected, his admiration for his friend clear in his voice. Asta awakened a new power. His fist was covered in a blue aura, and he defeated the monster. Father Orsi looked at Asta, a mixture of disbelief and pride in his eyes. "A blue aura? Asta, this is incredible. But it also means that there are forces at work here that we don't fully understand." Father Orsi, knowing of this power from his past battles, mentally plans to train Asta how to harness and control it. Asta nodded, still trying to process the events. "I don't know what that power was, Father Orsi. It just happened. But whatever it is, I'll use it to protect everyone." Father Orsi placed a reassuring hand on Asta's shoulder. "You're both incredibly brave. We'll figure this out together. First, let's get you both cleaned up and rested. We have much to discuss." Later that night, the church was filled with the comforting sounds of clinking cutlery and cheerful chatter as everyone enjoyed their dinner. The warm glow of candlelight cast a soothing ambience over the dining hall, and for a brief moment, the harrowing events of the day seemed far away. The children were laughing and sharing stories, their spirits lifted by the sense of safety and community within the church walls. Father Orsi watched over them with a proud and gentle smile. As he ate, his eyes often drifted to Asta, who was animatedly recounting the day's events to the other children. After dinner, as the children began to clear their plates, Father Orsi approached Asta. "Asta, can I speak with you for a moment?" he asked, his tone both kind and serious. Asta looked up, curiosity and anticipation in his eyes. "Sure." Father Orsi led Asta to a quieter corner of the hall. "Asta, about the power you unleashed today, the blue aura," he began, choosing his words carefully. "It's a very rare and powerful form of energy, and it's not something to take lightly." Asta listened intently, his eyes wide with curiosity. "Do you know what it is, Father Orsi?" Father Orsi nodded. "Yes, I have encountered it before. It's a type of cursed energy, something that can be incredibly potent but also dangerous if not controlled properly." He paused, placing a reassuring hand on Asta's shoulder. "I want to help you learn how to harness and control this power. It will be a difficult journey, but I believe you can do it." Asta's heart swelled with determination. "Thank you, Father Orsi. I'll do my best. I want to use this power to protect everyone." Father Orsi smiled warmly. "I know you will, Asta. We'll start training tomorrow. But for now, get some rest. You've had quite a day." Their peace was abruptly shattered by the sound of distant screams cutting through the night. The children's faces turned pale with fear, and Sister Lily's eyes widened in alarm. Father Orsi quickly rose from his seat, his heart pounding with a sense of dread. "Stay here and keep the children safe," Father Orsi instructed Sister Lily, his voice steady despite the chaos outside. "I'll go see what's happening." Asta and Yuno, filled with a mix of concern and determination, stepped forward. Father Orsi, we're coming with you, Asta said firmly. Before Father Orsi could protest, another scream echoed through the night, more urgent and desperate than before. Realizing the gravity of the situation, he nodded. All right, but stay close and be careful. The trio hurried outside. The night air thick with the acrid smell of smoke. The sight that greeted them was horrifying. Flames danced wildly, engulfing the village in a hellish glow. The once peaceful streets were now a scene of chaos and destruction, with villagers running and shouting in terror. As they stood there, trying to grasp the situation, a local ran up to Father Orsi, his face a mask of panic. His eyes were wide with terror, and his voice shook as he spoke. Father Orsi, the village, it suddenly went up in flames. There's no explanation for it. People are screaming, and the fire is spreading so fast. He pointed frantically toward the blazing buildings, his hands trembling. We don't know what to do. Please. You have to help us. Before Father Orsi could respond, Asta's eyes widened. Father Orsi, look, he pointed, his voice trembling with urgency. In the midst of the chaos, Asta saw a shadowy monster attacking the villagers, its form shifting and twisting in the flickering light of the flames. The creature moved with a sinister grace, its claws slashing through the air as it hunted the terrified villagers. Yuno followed Asta's gaze, his eyes narrowing as he too saw the creature. Father Orsi, there's a monster. But no one else seems to see it. Father Orsi squinted through the smoke and flames, his heart sinking as he realized the boys were right. The monster was invisible to everyone except Asta, Yuno, and himself. This can't be. Another cursed spirit, he muttered under his breath. Asta clenched his fists, the memory of his earlier battle fresh in his mind. We have to stop it, Father Orsi. We can't let it hurt anyone else. Father Orsi nodded, determination etched on his face. Stay close to me, both of you. We have to find a way to defeat it without causing more harm to the villagers. Father Orsi, Asta, and Yuno stood at the edge of the burning village, the flames casting ominous shadows around them. The air was thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burning wood, mingled with the cries of terrified villagers. The trio's hearts pounded with a mix of fear and determination as they prepared to confront the shadowy cursed spirit wreaking havoc. We need to act quickly, Father Orsi said, his voice steady but urgent. Asta, Yuno, help the villagers evacuate. I'll hold off the spirit and buy us some time. Asta and Yuno nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. They sprinted through the chaos, calling out to the panicked locals. This way. Head towards the church. It's safe there. Asta shouted. His voice cutting through the noise, Yuno used his wind magic to guide the villagers, creating gentle gusts that directed them towards safety. Stay together and move quickly, he urged, his magic providing a clear path through the smoke and flames. Meanwhile, Father Orsi moved slowly towards the shadowy cursed spirit, his eyes narrowing with determination. The creature's malevolent presence was palpable, and it moved with an eerie, predatory grace, its form shifting and twisting in the flickering light of the flames. With a deep breath, Father Orsi summoned his cursed energy, combining it with his fire magic. Flames erupted around him, crackling with an intense, blue-tinted heat. In the name of all that is sacred, you will not touch these people, he declared, his voice resonating with power. He unleashed a torrent of fire-enhanced cursed energy at the spirit, the flames spiraling towards the creature with relentless force. The cursed spirit hissed and recoiled, its sinister form momentarily disrupted by the searing flames. Father Orsi pressed the attack, weaving intricate patterns of fire that danced and lashed at the spirit. Each strike was a testament to his strength and resolve, his magic burning brightly in the darkness. Asta and Yuno, having guided the last of the villagers to safety, turned their attention back to the battle. They watched in awe as Father Orsi faced the cursed spirit, his flames casting an ethereal glow over the scene. But they also knew their mentor couldn't hold out forever. Father Orsi's determination burned brighter than the flames around him as he faced the shadowy cursed spirit. His fire-enhanced cursed energy crackled and surged. With each wave of his hand, torrents of searing flames shot towards the creature, illuminating the night with their intense blue light. The cursed spirit retaliated with sinister tendrils of darkness, striking at Father Orsi with a ferocity that seemed to embody pure malevolence. Despite the spirit's relentless assault, Father Orsi stood his ground, deflecting the attacks with powerful bursts of flame. Asta and Yuno watched the battle in awe, their eyes wide with admiration and fear. they could see the sheer power radiating from Father Orsi as he fought with unwavering resolve. Yet, they also sensed the immense strain it was putting on him. Suddenly, out of the shadows, another undead cursed spirit emerged, its grotesque form lurching towards Asta and Yuno. The creature's hollow eyes glowed with malevolent intent as it moved with surprising speed. Asta and Yuno tensed, ready to defend themselves, but the creature was upon them in an instant. It swiped at them with razor-sharp claws, forcing the boys to dodge and scramble. Despite their best efforts, the creature's relentless attacks began to wear them down. Seeing the danger, Father Orsi attempted to help the boys. Asta! Yuno! Hang on, he shouted, his voice filled with urgency. He diverted a stream of fire towards the undead spirit, trying to keep it at bay, but the shadowy cursed spirit seized the opportunity. A tendril of darkness shot out from its form, impaling Father Orsi's right shoulder with brutal force. He let out a cry of pain, the fire around him faltering as the cursed energy surged through his body. Father Orsi! Asta screamed, his eyes widening in horror as he saw his mentor wounded. Despite the excruciating pain, Father Orsi gritted his teeth and stood firm. Stay focused. Protect the villagers. That's your duty, he managed to say. His voice strained but determined. With the tendril still impaled through his shoulder, he chuckled bitterly and glared at the shadowy cursed spirit. You made a huge mistake, he spat defiantly. If I must die today, then I'll make sure to eliminate both of you cursed abominations before I do. With a fierce determination, Father Orsi summoned all his strength, the flames around him growing even more intense. He channeled his cursed energy, the fire crackling and roaring with renewed vigor. For the future of this village, for these children. I give my all, he declared, his voice resonating with power and resolve. His fire magic power increased threefold. Grabbing hold of the tendril, he burned it away with a fierce intensity, the dark energy dissipating into smoke. Renewed, he launched himself at the shadowy cursed spirit, his flames blazing with an unstoppable fury. The spirit writhed under the onslaught, its form disintegrating as the fire consumed it. With a final, powerful surge, Father Orsi's flames engulfed the creature, obliterating it almost instantly. The inferno exploded with blinding light, illuminating the night and driving away the darkness. After defeating the shadowy cursed spirit, Father Orsi turned his gaze towards the undead cursed spirit attacking Asta and Yuno. With a roar of determination, he rushed towards it, his flames surging with unstoppable power. In one swift, devastating strike, he unleashed a fireball that engulfed the undead cursed spirit, disintegrating it into ashes in an instant. When the light finally dimmed, the spirits were gone, but so was Father Orsi. Asta and Yuno stared in stunned silence, the weight of the sacrifice sinking in. Father Orsi's words echoed in their minds, his final act of bravery and love searing itself into their hearts. Father Orsi's body remained, but it was burned, leaving a lifeless shell behind. The village, now eerily quiet, stood in the wake of the devastation. Asta and Yuno knelt beside Father Orsi's lifeless body, their hearts heavy with grief. The once strong and guiding figure now lay still. His bravery etched into their souls. Asta's hands trembled as he reached out to touch Father Orsi's charred robe, tears streaming down his face. Father Orsi, you gave everything to protect us, he whispered, his voice breaking. I swear, I'll become stronger. I won't let your sacrifice be in vain. I'll protect everyone I care about, no matter what. His resolve hardened, the blue aura around him faintly flickering as if in response to his vow. The determination in his eyes mirrored the fire that had once burned so fiercely within Father Orsi. His eyes, unique in their brilliance, gleamed with a striking clarity. 6 interconnected, azure irises that shimmered like the purest gemstones. Reflecting his newfound resolve and the burden of his promise, Yuno, on the other hand, was silent, his gaze fixed on the ground. Doubt and sorrow gnawed at him, his mind replaying the moments of the battle. We weren't strong enough, he muttered, his voice barely audible. Father Orsi had to sacrifice himself because we couldn't handle it. Yuno clenched his fists, his own tears mingling with the soot and dirt on his face. But what if I'm not strong enough? What if I fail again? Asta placed a reassuring hand on Yuno's shoulder. We won't fail. We'll train harder, push ourselves to our limits. We have each other, and we'll grow stronger together. For Father Orsi, for the village. For everyone we care about. The weight of Father Orsi's sacrifice hung heavily in the air, but amidst the grief, a new determination began to bloom. Asta and Yuno knew that their journey was far from over. With each other's support, they would face the challenges ahead, carrying the lessons and love of Father Orsi with them. As they stood up, the first light of dawn began to break through the remnants of the night's darkness. The future was uncertain, but their resolve was unwavering. Asta's 6 eyes shone brightly with determination, while Yuno's eyes dimmed. Together, they would honor Father Orsi's legacy and forge a path of strength and protection. 2 years later. 2 years had passed since the night of Father Orsi's sacrifice. The village had slowly rebuilt itself, and life had returned to a semblance of normalcy. However, the memory of that night remained etched in the hearts of Asta and Yuno, driving them to become stronger and more determined than ever. Yuno had spent the past 2 years mastering his wind magic, honing his skills with relentless dedication. His control over the wind had become unparalleled, allowing him to manipulate it with precision and power. He had taken it upon himself to fight local crime, ensuring the safety of the villagers. However, his methods had grown increasingly brutal, a reflection of the inner turmoil and doubt that still plagued him. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Yuno confronted a group of bandits who had been terrorizing the outskirts of the village. His eyes, once filled with uncertainty, now burned with a fierce intensity. The wind swirled around him, responding to his every command. "You think you can harm these people and get away with it?" Yuno's voice was cold and unwavering. "Not on my watch." The bandits barely had time to react before Yuno unleashed a powerful gust of wind, knocking them off their feet. He moved with a speed and grace that left them no chance to retaliate. Each strike was precise and devastating, leaving the bandits battered and defeated. As the last of the bandits fell, Yuno stood amidst the wreckage, his chest heaving with exertion. The villagers who had witnessed the confrontation looked on with a mix of awe and fear. Yuno's methods, though effective, had become a source of concern for some. While Yuno had taken to protecting the village, Asta spent most of his time deep in the forest, training relentlessly. Surrounded by the serenity of nature, he sought to understand and master his cursed energy. The forest had become his sanctuary, a place where he could push his limits without endangering others. Asta's unique eyes, with their 6 interconnected, azure irises, gave him an unparalleled perception of the world around him. He could see the cursed energy at an atomic level, each particle shimmering with potential. This ability allowed him to study the intricate flows and interactions of the energy, revealing secrets that others could only dream of comprehending. He practiced day and night, honing his control over the blue aura that had once saved him and Yuno. With every punch and every movement, Asta visualized the energy within him, guiding it with precision and intent. He knew that mastering this power was the key to fulfilling his vow to protect those he cared about. One afternoon, as the sun filtered through the canopy of leaves, Asta stood before a massive boulder. His eyes focused intensely on the rock, tracing the flow of his cursed energy. With a deep breath, he unleashed a powerful strike, his fist enveloped in the blue aura. The boulder shattered into countless pieces, the energy within it disintegrating at a molecular level. Asta wiped the sweat from his brow, his eyes shining brightly with determination. "Father Orsi, I will become stronger. I promise," he whispered to himself, feeling the weight of his vow. Despite the solitude, Asta felt a deep connection to his surroundings. The forest became a reflection of his journey, a place where he could test his limits and grow. Each day brought new challenges, but with every obstacle overcome, his resolve only strengthened. As Asta was catching his breath, he suddenly heard a rustling in the underbrush. His eyes narrowed, the 6 azure irises scanning the area for any signs of danger. Out of the shadows emerged a 10-foot-tall basilisk, its scales gleaming like dark emeralds in the sunlight. The creature's eyes glowed with a malevolent intensity, and its forked tongue flickered in and out as it hissed. Asta's muscles tensed as he prepared to defend himself. "So, you're my next challenge," he muttered, his blue aura flaring up around him. The basilisk moved with lightning speed, its massive body coiling and striking with terrifying precision. Asta dodged the initial attack, but the creature was relentless. It lunged at him again and again, its fangs bared and claws slashing through the air. Despite his best efforts, Asta found himself struggling to keep up with the basilisk's speed. The creature's attacks were swift and unyielding, forcing him on the defensive. As he parried a particularly vicious strike, he realized he couldn't rely solely on his physical strength. Just as the basilisk was about to launch another attack, something within Asta clicked. A sudden clarity washed over him, and his perception of the world shifted. The blue aura around him intensified, and his unique eyes began to glow even brighter. He could see every minute detail, every particle of energy around him. The space between him and the basilisk seemed to stretch, creating an invisible barrier that the creature couldn't penetrate. As the basilisk lunged at him, it was stopped in its tracks, its strikes unable to reach him. Asta's eyes gleamed with newfound confidence. "Let's see how you handle this," he said, his voice steady and resolute. The basilisk hissed in frustration, unable to understand why its attacks were failing. Asta seized the opportunity, focusing his cursed energy with precision. He unleashed a barrage of strikes, his blue aura slicing through the air with unparalleled force. The basilisk's scales, once seemingly impenetrable, were no match for Asta's newfound power. Each strike landed with devastating impact, pushing the creature back. With a final, powerful blow, Asta sent the basilisk crashing to the ground. Defeated, breathing heavily, Asta stood over the fallen creature, his eyes still glowing with the intensity of his cursed energy. He had unlocked a new level of power, one that would help him protect those he cared about. As the forest fell silent once more, Asta knew that his journey was far from over. But with his newfound abilities and unwavering resolve, he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead.